Hello everybody and welcome to Cork and Journey. We are today here at Matthiasson Family Wines and we are with Steve Matthiasson. Steve, so great to see you, my friend.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us here. Oh man, what is this beautiful location we're in?
So we're at our winery on the Phoenix Vineyard in Napa. So we're right on the base of Mount Veeder. Our vineyard here goes up the hill on marine shale soil. It's one of the amazing things about this site is that this is all volcanic soil. This vineyard where we're sitting now is shale soil, unusual. This is our 1982 planted, organically farmed Cabernet Sauvignon vineyard.
Beautiful.
And we're sitting at one of our tasting areas here in the tasting room.
It's just gorgeous out here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So, to start off, how did you get into making wine?
Home winemaker.
Yeah.
Because I was a home beer brewer when I was in college, and I went to grad school at UC Davis to study agriculture. I wanted to be a farmer, and I would have gotten a job anywhere, but I got lucky and got a job working for a company that worked on vineyards. So I was like, how hard can home winemaking be? I've been brewing beer for 5 or so years. So I switched over to being a home winemaker from the vineyards where I was working on the farming side. And that was 1995.
Wow.
And just one thing led to another. And
that was it. And your first vintage was 2003 Merlot.
First vintage for Matthiasson was 2003. Yep. 95 was the first time making wine, and then we did it every year and then in 2003 we thought, let's make it a little bit more and start a business, a family business. And it was a great way. At that time, we had our second kid. My wife was working in the nonprofit world for a family farming nonprofit that was really involved in local food in the Bay Area. But nonprofits are notorious, lots of hours, not a lot of pay, basically. And with a second kid, it was like, let's start a little wine business. She can run it, have the flexibility, and that was the beginning. Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. So in the past, you've said that you wanted to carry on Mondavi's legacy. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Big statement, I guess, because Mondavi had a big legacy, but Mondavi's role here in Napa was so huge in a lot of different ways. But one of the things that when you're here, you're acutely aware of the tone that he set that carries forward, of sharing information, of a rising tide lifts all ships, of paying it forward. He was, so Mondavi was a place people went to learn how to make wine. Anyone that, so many different wineries owe, gratitude to him for helping with all kinds of different things. How to get barrels, or how to sell your wine, or an introduction to someone to buy the wine, or using his lab to help them with some enological problem. And it was, so to this day, as a wine region in Napa, we share information, and there's an openness that is unusual in wine regions, and that's part of Mondavi's legacy. But another part of his legacy was wine for the table. That wine is a part of a healthy lifestyle. He always called it the gracious table, like the gathering on the table is where things happen, as our human experience, and wine helps people gather, and that was the purpose of it. So wine being drinkable and healthy and complementing food, and fitting harmoniously with the food was something he was really into, and was always very vocal about sort of how wine should be in terms of balance and the acidity that goes with food and moderate alcohol, and so those are some of the things that I think are really important that we want to try to carry forward and adapt as well. I mean, like our internship programs, apprenticeships, for BIPOC people, for example, with the 280 project, been working on that for about 4 years. That's not something that Mondavi was doing, but I feel like it's a continuation of an evolution of our wine industry being something that is trying to improve the world, add good to the world. And so, that concept there is something that that was part of that legacy, and the concept. But it's an evolving, because times change and our awareness and understanding of things change, and so we don't want to get stuck in a certain time period either. We need to keep moving forward. So organic farming is, you know, something that we believe in, but it's now organic farming is now we're going to beyond that to regenerative organic farming, where it's creating more habitat in our vineyards. Not, you know, it's not just avoiding the toxins of synthetic pesticides or fertilizers, but how do we increase habitat, or how do we reduce our carbon footprint, or how do we provide opportunity for farm workers so that they can integrate into the American dream through, you know, working, you know, in our business and have health care and some of their needs met. So that's all. The regenerative is sort of like, again, has some things that we weren't thinking about even 10 years ago, let alone 20 or 30 years ago. So but the principles are always the same, right? Of continuing to evolve and push and do better.
Yeah. And what are some of those methods that you're using in your vineyards right now?
Well, okay, so that's some of this cover crops, for example, so that we have habitat in between the vines. That's planting very intentionally between the vines. Hedgerows around the vineyard, so we plant native plants that flower all year, so that in the summer when it's dry in our climate, you don't have a lot of habitat in the vineyard for all of our beneficial insects that need nectar and pollen from flowers to, you know, complete their life cycles. And so we plant around the hedgerows around the outside of the vineyards so that we maintain the habitat. You know, bird boxes, so for insect eating, you know, birds that are native birds like bluebirds, swallows. Compost for our fertility, so that, you know, you build healthy. The organic maxim is you feed the soil, not the plants. So we don't want to be fertilizing the plants and throwing them out of balance. We want to just improve the soil, and the plants get what they need, but they have to work for it, and that's what makes them stronger and healthier. So.
Hey, you were taking us around the vineyard earlier and kind of talking about the bird boxes. And
yeah.
You've got how many, you said?
We have 18 on this property, yeah.
And all but one or two are occupied?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, there's actually a university study on songbirds in the vineyard, and we're one of the test sites. So they've been coming every week and counting the birds, measuring them, putting trackers on them, analyzing, you know, their feces and sending them to the lab to see what pests they're eating. They're getting all kinds of information, because it wasn't really known, you know, can birds even live in a vineyard? And not only are they living, they're thriving. So it's pretty interesting.
So I'll go back to Mondavi here for a minute, because one of the things, I saw an interview with you where you said one of the things that really, the bottle that changed your life, I think, was a bottle of Mondavi. Yeah?
Yeah.
That was the one you said, oh, I saw wine in 3 dimensions for the first time, or something like that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. You know, so I started on the farming side, not in working in restaurants or the wine business. And so my education for wine was here within California, within the wine industry in California. So when I was working in the Central Valley, I was working in Modesto for 4 years, and then I worked in Lodi for 2 years. And Lodi, I was there to write, they got a grant to write this thing called the Lodi Wine Growers Workbook, which has become the Lodi Rules and the California Code of Sustainable Conduct. It's a statewide book, but it was, we did that in 1999 and 99 and 2000, and wrote this workbook that for growers to assess themselves on their sustainability and come up with an action plan based on when they went through the whole thing.
So you were at the very beginning of this.
Beginning of it, yeah. And but Mondavi was in Lodi and Napa at the time. You know, Mondavi Woodbridge and Lodi. This is back, you know, when it was owned by the family still. And so they were big supporters of the sustainability program in Lodi, and they were doing stuff up here in Napa for cover cropping and some ergonomics, really interesting stuff, like trying to change how they do things in the vineyards so that older people can work in vineyards and not throw their back out, and how you know, lifting the picking bins and stuff. So it was pretty interesting. So they had a field day, and they invited us from Lodi to come up to it. And, you know, I was excited to come up to the winery. And afterwards they said, hey, do you want to come in and taste some wines? Absolutely. We go into the room, we go into the reserve tasting room in the back, and, you know, try some of our reserve library wines. And, so, I mean, I was, down in the Central Valley, just for people in other parts of the country might not realize how culturally different that is than Napa. It's farming. And so it was very exciting to be, up here and try that reserve cab. Up until that point, the best wine I'd probably had was like a really good Lode Izan,
Right.
very juicy, fruity, but the structure and tannins and earthiness and herbalness and fruitiness and all that stuff going on in that Napa Cab just, completely changed my understanding of what wine can be.
Yeah.
It can be profound. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I grew up in Long Beach, California, and Boone's Farm was my introduction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's it for a lot of people, and it was one of those things. And then your beer. And I was much later than you. I think it was my mid-20s when I was like, oh, this is what wine is, and it's kind of one of those things where it's just kind of a shock to the, to the sense like, oh, this is what people are talking about.
Yeah, and then you have the levels, because I loved wine. I just had never had a great one yet.
Right.
I was having a lot of great drinking wines or table wines that I just thought was, was like I was fully hooked. I just didn't know what people were talking about when they're talking about great wine.
Yeah.
It's another world.
You changed everything. Well, you were talking earlier about how, hey, winemaking is, I don't know, you said it's farming, it's winemaking, it's storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So there seems, wine sales are kind of going down. There's a whole generation here around, and when we talk to people sometimes, it's like, well, especially younger generation, they can buy a bottle of spirits for $50. It's a good bottle of spirits, right? And that's going to give them 25 drinks, right? And then they look at that same for a wine, it's give them 4 or 5 drinks as they kind of look at it. But you talked earlier about the health benefits and all of that. I mean, is there anything like, do you have a message around why wine?
Yeah. We compare it to spirits. I love spirits, but the diversity, spirits are a lot harder to make, right? You need to have a whole still, it's a whole thing. So you have not even 1% of the number of spirits producers in the world as you have wine producers in the world, right?
Right.
Wine is very simple to make. That's why it's been 10,000 years. They haven't had spirits for 10,000 years. And so the one of the reasons why wine is that wine, it's very democratic in terms of providing opportunity for somebody to have a point of view and have something that they want to say. And when I drink a bottle of wine, I'm really interested in what the person has to say that made the wine. Right? That's why I like handmade wines made by people, not big corporate wines, because the corporate wine might be very delicious, but what is it saying? Right? A handmade wine has a point of view and it's saying something. I really enjoy that. And so first question of why wine is it's an endless opportunity to to have a connection to a person and a place and a time and a point of view and a story, right? Spirits lovers, which I am one, but you tend to go back to your favorite.
Sure.
Wine is, every single bottle is different. It's always different. So it's just a completely different experience.
I think you associate memories with wine, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of one memory that I've had with a good gin and tonic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A good gin and tonic is just a wonderful thing.
It's just a gin and tonic, right?
At a wedding. I always go gin and tonic at a wedding, but right. But so story and uniqueness is unparalleled with wine, but the bigger thing is that role with food, the way it works, the acidity in the mouth, it's so perfectly suited to dining, and the size of the bottle is suited to sharing, and so having that wine at the dinner table slows your dinner down, and you don't just sit there and go like this and leave when you have a bottle of wine there. You eat more slowly, you enjoy the company that you're with. And I think the biggest health, people are so fixated on healthiness and health benefits, trying to analyze some component in there, that resveratrol or what have you, that's good for your heart. But they don't talk about what's good for your heart is relaxing with people that you care about.
Laughing, having a nice time.
Yeah, and wine sits there, slows your meal down, and really facilitates that dining, that wonderful dining experience that every night we look forward to. Every night we put we set the table, knife, fork, napkin, wine glass, and then figure out what wine we're going to have with whatever we're eating tonight. And then that's part of sitting down, and then the whole world just recedes, and the wine is in the middle of the table, and you're looking at the person, and then you pour some, and then you start eating, and your sacred space now. You're not, all your stuff from the day is...
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah. It's funny when you get into wine, I think that becomes the thing. It's like, well, what do we have? You know, your whole everything can kind of center around that wine at the end of the day, right? Oh, we're having seafood tonight. Well, what great white wine are we going to pick out with some high acid that's going to, you know, whatever that's going to go with this? And it's just, it's fun. Makes everything better.
Yeah.
So are all of your wines estate grown, or do you source grapes from anywhere? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we most of our fruit is estate grown. We sell fruit to other wineries, and we buy some fruit for certain of our wines. So we, like, for example, we sell Chardonnay to Chateau Montelena and just a lot of different wineries, because we grow more Chardonnay than we can use ourselves. On the flip side, for our rosé, I really love the fruit from the Dunnigan Hills, which is like an hour inland in Yolo County. And so we buy that fruit. But farming-wise, it's really important to us that things are farmed a certain way. That fruit, I trained the vineyard manager on how to be a vineyard manager. So they used to be my consulting client. So I still do consulting work for vineyards around North Lee, Napa. And so there's a high level of comfort with getting that fruit, because we had to grow it specifically for rosé, for example, which is different than growing for red wine. So, but we do buy that. So we probably buy a quarter of our fruit, and we sell about a quarter of our fruit. And then, our business model, the way we built our winery is initially we first started buying grapes from my vineyard management and vineyard, consulting clients. And then we leased our first vineyard in 2005. Then we start leasing a vineyard. Is just like the equivalent would be if let's say you're a restaurateur and you lease a space. It's your space, your restaurant.
Right.
It's different than sourcing the grapes. Because sourcing the grapes, someone else grew the grapes, you buy it from them. We lease it, so we farm it ourselves. Our, tractor, everything. It's just our vineyard. Okay. So we leased our first one in 2005. Then we bought one in 2006, and then we kept on leasing. We leased another one in 2006, Michael Mara. Planted that, got a 25-year lease on it. We bought our winery here in 2017. So that was really lucky. We were leasing the vineyard next to us, and it's a bare land now, but it was an older vineyard, and met the couple that owned this property, and they were retired, and the place was mothballed, totally, basically boarded up. And they needed to sell it for their retirement, and it was killing them because they didn't want to move. And we pitched them on, if you can reduce the price to what we can afford, we'll do a lifetime estate and you can just stay here. And so that was a great win-win. So they still live here.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's awesome.
That's fantastic.
And so yeah, they're living out their retirement dream. And so we got this in 2017, and then we leased more vineyards, and then we have a vineyard in Carneros now, Cressida Vineyard, that we're partners in. So it's kind of a mix. And so we're farming about 80 acres now, in-house.
And you're processing all of it here?
The fruit that we sell, again, we sell some of that fruit, but all of our fruit we process here. And then we have a warehouse, because this is a very small winery, but we have the ability to process all of our fruit here, all of our reds, and then we move the barrels to our warehouse, and we make our whites at Ashes and Diamonds.
Okay.
And so we trade winemaking for using that awesome brand new cellar for our whites.
That's great.
Yeah.
How many cases do you produce a year?
We make about 10,000.
Okay.
And so we that's big enough that it's a real business, small enough that we still get to be intimately involved in every detail. So it's kind of a sweet spot.
And it shows in your wines too.
Yeah, thank you.
They're wonderful.
So talking about wine, you were talking about what you have at the, you always have put wine at your dinner table. You choose the wine for that. How big's your cellar?
Our cellar, so we had to rebuild our house in the earthquake. Okay. So because our house moved over 5 inches in 2014. If you look at the Som TV, they have Into the Bottle. They show our house in that movie.
Yeah.
All broken up basically. So it got red tagged. So we lifted it up and we thought, well, so we rebuilt the downstairs, and so we had basically all of a sudden we have a blank slate. So it was our chance, and so we put in a wine room downstairs.
Nice.
And we used to do all of our tastings out of our house. So one half of the wine room was just all the Matthiasson wines that we would sell, and the other half was our wines. And we have, now we use it as a root cellar, but because we garden, we grow pretty much all of our own produce. So we have bins of potatoes in there. We have prosciutto hanging from the ceiling.
So beautiful.
We don't do our tastings out of the house anymore. So now that's library, Matthiasson library. So it's really fun to pull old bottles for people when they come over. And then our side is our side. And basically, I have a problem, so it's a compulsion maybe, and so
we share that.
So when you ask how big our wine cellar is, if you asked my wife, she'd say too big. If they like wine, the right number of, like I'm a cyclist too, and the old cycling joke is the right number of bikes is n+1, and it's pretty much that with wine, right? And so I can't I just got some Chenin Blanc yesterday, I couldn't resist, but. So the wine cellar is pretty big, but it's also, I was in France at Chateau, I got to visit Chateau Beaucastel, and it was a weird weekend actually. I was doing a weird consulting trip for Brad Pitt when he first bought Chateau Miraval.
Okay.
And so that was a surreal weekend, and he asked, and so
dropping names.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy. That was a crazy one. So he just asks stuff, and so he says to Mr. Perrin at Chateau Beaucastel, it's like, "What do you drink? What do you drink in your cellar?" And I never would have thought of asking that question. And he says, "Well, we drink from the family cellar. It's so basically I'm drinking the stuff my dad put in there, and we're putting stuff in there for our kids." Yeah. And I was like, very nice. Eureka! Yeah. So now I say to my wife Jill, it's like, no, this is the family cellar. This is for the kids. They were
you never go in there, of course.
Well, we're drinking. She's like, there's more than we'll ever drink. It's for the kids.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, we don't want the kids. Yeah, exactly.
It's for the children, Tina.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, don't you want them coming around and enjoying coming to the house and pulling bottles? And so so that's.
It also gets rid of the guilt. I really don't need this, but it's not for me.
It's not for you, it's for the kids. It's your legacy.
That's beautiful.
They're going to have wonderful dinners and thank you many years from now.
Yeah. So random geek out stuff here. So you use Cellar Tracker, inventory, or just nothing?
No, I just have, I just put blue tape and write on it, right, sections that make sense to me. Like I have oddball, European, oddball US, Italian whites. Ribolla Gialla has its own section.
You just got them all.
Yeah.
That's so much easier. I have everything, not only by bin, but by location in the bin. And it's on that, I don't know, I went crazy with the app called Inventory. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Very cool. But anyway, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have no system whatsoever. But I don't have a good system for tracking anything in the winery either. But that's why we have a really good team, and so my job is tasting and thinking about things, and then other people are really good at keeping it all organized.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, if you were to describe your wines, how would you describe your wines to our viewers? What makes your wines unique?
Mm-hmm. So the way I would, our goal is for you to taste just the purity of the sort of vibrant essence of the fruit that grows on the vines. Mm-hmm. That's the idea. And so, I really like. Again, we started wanting to be an organic farmer. My wife worked for almost over 10 years for a small local food family farming nonprofit. So, like farmers markets and organic vegetable growers is a big part of our community and kind of really how we started. And so if you think about a fresh melon or a fresh tomato at a farmer's market, mm-hmm. how good that is compared to a supermarket version, that's what we're trying to achieve with our wine. So that's why we don't use a lot of new oak, a lot of winemaking techniques that really add or change the wine, because we really focus on how we grow the grapes, mm-hmm. healthy organic soil, living soil, vines, fruit grown that way. We want you to taste that freshness. And so the wines tend to be moderate alcohol, really vibrant, really, the flavors are very delineated and pure. There's acidity, so it goes with food, but hopefully it's all in balance. The motto is weight without heaviness.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah.
So I always hear alcohol's going up, alcohol's going up. It has to go up. There's nothing winemakers can do about it because it's heating up, and mm-hmm. so the ripeness is there. How do you do it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the heating up changes the character of the wine, for sure. Worldwide, wine is evolving, but the alcohol level is a function of when you harvest.
Sugar, yeast, right? How
right.
much sugar's there, right?
The sugar is continuing to increase, generally, and so then the sugar turns into a certain amount of alcohol. So you can choose to harvest any sugar level that you want, and so a lot of people. So when they say, "Well, my alcohols are going up higher because of global warming," that's an excuse. If they say the alcohol levels are going up because I need sugars to be a certain level to make the type of wine I want to make, then that's
sure
great. And that's what I mean by there's a point of view in every bottle of wine. So someone might say, well, I can't pick when you pick, Steve, because the tannins aren't to my liking, or there still has green flavors or whatever. And so in that case, they're making their choices. And so someone, as a matter of taste, can like that or not like it, right? Because we don't expect that everyone likes our wine. We only need 1% of the people that like our wine because we don't make that much wine. So its question is finding the people that like our wine, and if they like a different percent of wine, that's fine. They can, it's a big world, but it's a choice. And so we choose to harvest at a sugar level that has moderate alcohol, which becomes pretty early calendar-wise relative to like 30 years ago, right? Because we're harvesting in August and September. 30 years ago, it was October, November, maybe 40 years ago. But to get a little deeper, though, it is true that if you just farm everything the same, in a lot of cases, like even for us, it's not just, that's why we need to farm our own grapes. So we farm our grapes for having ripeness at lower sugar levels. So that's the more sort of complex, nuanced answer to that question is, so meaning, we don't irrigate a lot. We like the vines to go through their natural ripening arc. Dry. If you think about growing tomatoes, if you water them a lot right before harvest, they don't have much flavor if you let them dry, as compared to if you let them dry down before harvest, right? And so it's sort of the same principle. So we want to let our vines dry down and not sort of keep them green so that the ripeness comes on earlier. And we don't mind that has some green characters. We like that because I think that's better with food, and it gives the wine an exciting accent. And so some of that herbal, like nice characters can be really beautiful in a wine. It's like a fruit salad with some mint leaves tossed in, brightens it up. So it works for us, but also the way we prune the vines, we prune every vine differently. That's why we have our own in-house farming crew. So a strong vine, you leave more buds on it so it can grow more. So each shoot grows a little bit less because you have more total shoots. Right. A weak vine, you prune it harder, meaning you leave less buds so that it has less shoots so they can grow more. So because you're trying to get the balance. Compost will make 2 shovels on a weak vine, 1 shovel on a moderate vine, no shovels on a strong vine. So you just kind of follow that logic through the whole growing season. Even all the way to harvest, we just harvest the vines that are ready, come back and harvest the vines later that aren't ready, so that we don't have to wait for everything to get ready and then the sugars are higher. Right. And so at the end, we're able to make our style of wine even in the warm climate.
Yeah, I'd love to learn about your wine club.
Oh, okay. So thank you. Our wine club. So last year we made 31 different varieties of grapes. Okay. So like on the table here, well, this is 2 cabs and a cab franc, but last year we always make, we make Pinot Meunier, Ribolla Gialla, Semillon, Chardonnay. We make all these wine club wines. Like last year we made a Carignan, we made a Riesling, we made a Chenin Blanc, we made a Gamay. And so we just have a lot of fun, basically.
You made that Chenin Blanc. I know
Yeah.
you were talking about it. I don't know if I've had it yet.
Oh, no, the one I just bought, we bought.
Okay.
But we love Chenin Blanc. My wife Jill especially loves Chenin Blanc. So we made that. We made a Chenin Blanc last year. And so with the wine club, we just like people have the opportunity to try all kinds of stuff that they maybe haven't necessarily ever tried before. I mean, many wine lovers have probably had a Chenin Blanc, but they haven't had necessarily a Chenin Blanc from Lake County, and it made with our lens, right? Because all of our wines are food friendly and have that weight without heaviness. So the wine club twice a year, 6 bottles or 12 bottles. It's always going to be something new and different every single time, and it's just people just have a lot of fun with it because it's like. What opening the package.
What are we getting?
What are we getting this time? Yeah, exactly. And then we'll put some recipes. That a lot of times, like if you ever been like in a CSA, like a CSA box for like a small farm where you get your box of produce once a week, and a lot of times people people like, what is kohlrabi, and you have to look it up and find out like what it is and how to cook with it. Right. So like our box our wine club might have schioppettino in it or a skin fermented Ribolla Gialla. So that's basically our version of kohlrabi. And then kind of get people out of there like, hey, let's me try cooking something I've never cooked before because I've never even heard of this grape before. And I looked it up and see it's from Friuli and what do they normally grow with it. Let's try making that. And it's fun. It's really fun. So the wine club for us, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's fun for us
unique.
to do it.
Very unique and sets you apart.
Yeah.
I must say, we talk to a lot of winemakers and learn about all kinds of different memberships. So that's very interesting. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. And there's also jams. People can add on. We grow peaches, nectarines, plums, figs, and so we make jams.
That's right. I heard about that.
Yeah, so it's wine club only.
Amazing. We'll have to check those out today.
Never ordered the jams.
You need to jump on the jam. Yeah,
jump on the jam.
So the jams are we're in Napa Valley, which is a great place for fruit in general. The warm days and cool nights. But we pick the fruit for the jam. We pick ultra ripe. Okay. So most jam is made from when you pick it for fresh market, and if there's like it's damaged or something, it goes to jam. So we pick it like 2 weeks riper than that, to where it would just mush in like a day on your counter. And it's so flavorful. Yum. And it goes straight into the jam. So it's really unique jam. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Oh, Derek has some right here.
There you go. Oh. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Derek.
So this is pink pearl apple butter. So the apple is an heirloom variety called Pink Pearl. They're cool. They have a white skin and pink flesh. And then so that's it's apple butter. It's phenomenal, and that is phenomenal on biscuits.
That's fantastic. By the way, I'm glad Derek brought this out because I forgot to ask the legendary shear.
The shear,
The
yes.
shear. All of your labels, if you look at
Everyone.
everyone, it's basically, it took me forever to pick that out. Originally, I thought this was just some sort of crazy modern art thing you had going, and then I'm realizing, that's a shear. And it's just, so where did that come from in the layering of designs?
Well, you think about, it's our tool.
Yeah.
Right? Like a chef, the symbol is the chef's knife, right? Like a bartender might be a martini glass, or I'm not sure what the symbol of the bartender is, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So that's our symbol. That's the craft of viticulture.
Pruning shears.
Pruning shears. We prune the vine with them. We tend the vine all year. We green harvest. We trim everything. We harvest with it. We pop our beers open with it.
It's a multi-faceted.
It's
got a lot of use.
You dig holes with it. Yeah, you just have it on your belt, and that's our tool. And so we believe in craftsmanship. Like each of those 31 different wines was different that we made last year were different winemaking techniques. We had all traditional craftsmanship. That's what we prize ourselves in, and so that's our symbol.
Nice.
So, if you were to give advice, what would that advice be to somebody that's new or entering into the winemaking world?
Oh, okay. Well, be patient. Because we have a lot of interns and a lot of people go, how in the hell am I ever going to get what you have? But I started in the industry 30 years ago. And we bought we were 23 years in the industry before we finally bought a winery. So patience is really important for people to understand that it's just going to take time. It's an apprenticeship-based industry, right? You need to work and learn from people and build in your craft, because that craft takes time. So that's one thing. Understanding the whole totality of it, the grapevines, how plants work, how soils work. It's thinking about that and focusing on it. How wine works. There's the science of it and the art of it, and kind of paying attention to those two and trying to learn. But selling is really important, storytelling and communicating, because it doesn't do you any good if your wine's gathering dust in the warehouse, right? It's there for people and getting out, and so that's part of this craft as well, that a lot of people getting into it don't necessarily value, but it's integral to winemaking. And so I think that's really, really important for people to try to think about the whole totality of it. And if they're, depending on what area they're interested in though as well. Some people, because for us as vigneron, that we have to look at the whole thing. Mm-hmm. If you say, no, I only like selling, great, you can do that and focus on that craft. It's still going to take some time though. Yes. But so for them not to get frustrated, but instead embrace the fact that they're in it, because it's just an amazing lifestyle. It's wine industry is a lot like being a teacher or something. It's not a very lucrative industry, but you do it for the lifestyle and because you love it.
Yeah, good advice.
People have got to stop by if you're in Napa. I mean, you're a little off the beaten path to get here, but it's well worth coming over. I mean, you have the most unique tasting room. I mean, this is not some big, glorious, grandiose hall of wine that you're going to walk into. It is just, it's real. I mean, you've got just beautiful little outdoor tasting areas set up all over the place, and your staff is absolutely amazing. So is appointment only? Tell us about it.
It's an appointment only. It's always good for people to book it ahead of time because we book out. But we'd love to have people. It's a guided tasting, so that's why we book out, because we don't just drop the wine and walk away. We want people to understand the wine. It's a really fun wine education experience, because they can, with our hosts, it's an hour and a half of helping working them through each of the different wines, why they're made, how they're made, where they are, here in the vineyard in Napa. And so it's a really, I think it's a unique experience for people that want to learn. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of tasting rooms. We've done a lot of tastings. Yours far and away one of our favorites. You know, it was just, it's real. It's just no pretense.
Yeah.
It's no pretense whatsoever. It's like, here's wine, here's what we did, here's, you know, and it's just so enjoyable.
And literally to have somebody actually sit down with you and stay there the whole time and take you through the journey of what you're tasting and experiencing, and it's just, it's really an amazing experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, Steve, thank you so much. It was really great having you on.
Thank you.
We want to thank everybody for dropping in on today's episode. And as always, if you are looking for Corkage fees, head over to corkandjourney.com. We also have wine reviews, restaurant reviews, and of course, winery reviews. And if you get a chance, you have to stop by Matthiasson Winery, pick up some wine, pick up some jam. You'll have a great time. And follow us on YouTube and your favorite social media apps. Thank you so much. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.